just like to ask a question about our UK arms export licences. So it's alleged that there's identification of British armaments on Sudanese battlefields that have been exported via the UAE. Have the UK government reviewed its assessment of those UK arms export licences? And what representations have you made to the UAE government on this matter?
So I take any allegations like this incredibly seriously, and since I think there were allegations made about 3 items being sourced to the UK that were found in Sudan, since those allegations were made, we have reviewed, or I've insisted reviewed, 2,000 export licences. And in those 3 cases, the case of those 3 items, they were not covered by current licences, by any current licences over the last 5 years. I think there was a seatbelt, a target, and an engine component. None of those have been included in current licences, export licences from the UK. However, if there are any further allegations that are ever raised, I will take them immensely seriously. We do have very strict rules to prevent any diversion as well. Then more widely, I have discussed issues around weapons supplies to Sudan with all the members of the Quad, so with the UAE, with the Saudis, with Egypt, and also with the US as well, because obviously some of what we need to do is to be restricting any weapons going into Sudan. We also have to recognise, though, they have got an awful lot of weapons already in Sudan, and therefore the most urgent thing is getting the humanitarian truce in place and trying to identify what it would take to have sufficient pressure on both sides that they pull back from the brink of further conflict and atrocities.
And talking about the current potential atrocities, what immediate actions are you taking to ensure that the atrocities witnessed in El Fasher, which you mentioned, are prevented from occurring in Kordofan?
Yeah,
right now.
This is the thing that actually really worries me most. Of all of the different things that I deal with at the moment, this is the thing that worries me most, because we have seen horrendous atrocities take place, and there is, I think, a real risk of further atrocities. That's why we are seeking to maintain the pressure. We announced new sanctions on RSF members around the atrocities that have taken place in El Fasher. We're ready to use any of those levers that we have in order to put pressure on. We have also, as part of the Human Rights Council resolution that we put forward, was also about a fact-finding mission, because as Tom Fletcher has said, the El Fasher is a crime scene, and therefore we need to also be able to gather the evidence of the atrocities in order to hold people to account, and to be clear, whether it is through sanctions, whether it's through fact-finding, whether it's through the work, through other international work, that there must be accountability for atrocities. But that also, ultimately, it needs the truce. We want to see a ceasefire, a permanent peace, but immediately can we just get a truce that pulls back from further conflict in the Kordofans right now, in order to prevent further atrocities taking place. And that's what a lot of the discussions, that's why the conversations that I've had with Masad Boulos, who is the US Special Envoy, and also Marco Rubio. You'll have seen both the US Secretary of State and the President, and President Trump, also expressing deep concern about the scale of atrocities taking place. So just trying to get the maximum pressure on. We also have the UK Special Envoy as well, who has been engaging with the SAF, as well as the issues around the sanctions for the RSF. So we are engaging on both sides to try and put maximum pressure on.
Thank you. And you mentioned the peace process and the political process. It's constantly raised with me and others that there aren't enough women involved in this process. It's when you see the peace talks, it's a lot of men going in and out, and the women of Sudan are absolutely feeling that they should be involved. We've got very good experience of involving women in the peace process in Northern Ireland, which has been shared a lot with women's groups in Sudan as well. So what, as the pen holder, as so involved with the Quad and with other ways, what influence influence can the UK government bring to ensure that more women, and the right women, are involved in this, to make sure that the peace will be lasting and it will be something which will be for all people of Sudan?
So one of the things that we are seeking to do, including working with other countries like Norway, who've also experienced in these areas, is to try and work to build up some civilian capacity in Sudan, because there's an immediate issue about getting the warring sides to pull back from the brink and to agree to a humanitarian truce. But if it is to be sustained, we need a civilian transition. And that means we need to be able to strengthen Sudanese voices, the civil society in Sudan. I have met with some of those community activists who are just showing incredible bravery at the moment by providing response through emergency response rooms. It is crucial that women's voices are a central part of that. So as part of the work we look to do to try and build some civilian capacity, as part of also the 25th anniversary of the Women, Peace and Security resolution at the UN, which the then Labour government was a crucial part of establishing that resolution. That was all about recognising that not just there needs to be protection for women victims of war and conflict, including from things like sexual violence, but also that women's voices need to be heard as part of the peace process, that women need to be the strong voices for security and for peace. So we highlighted that 25th anniversary as part of the work I'm trying to do to strengthen the work around women and girls through the Foreign Office. We need to make sure that those principles are now taken forward in the work we seek to do to strengthen the civil society in Sudan.